On the 12th day of Christmas, my true love gave to me storytelling skills for executives and leaders like you. Welcome to 25 Days of Visibility. I'm Rashonda Pratt, visibility communication strategist, not a singer. So glad that you are here. Wanted to have a little fun. We have made it to 12 days out of 25 of live streaming consistently at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I want to say hello to all of you who are here watching right now on LinkedIn and YouTube. Thank you so much, whether you're watching this live or watching in the replay. I want to say thank you so much for being here. I am just checking my technology right quick to make sure that we are in fact live and that we're not having any tech issues or anything like that. There are some of you who have been here since day one. I want to say thank you. Thank you so much for being a part of this journey with me as I am returning back to my first love, which is live streaming, which doing this is what helped me to clarify my message, gain confidence, and to really build a business. So I'm glad that you are here. So as always, let me know who's tuning in right now in the comment section. Say hello to me. Let me see who is here and where you are tuning in from. I'm really excited about today's topic, and I think you would be excited about it as well, because this is the final episode of week 2. 2 weeks we've been doing this live stream thing. I mean, isn't it amazing? And we have been talking about strategic content and communication all week. So this week we covered your soundbite strategy, how to be quotable. We talked about LinkedIn being your stage, how to optimize your profile. Day 10, we talked about beyond broadcasting, how to build real relationships. And yesterday we talked about curating your network, how to be selective with your connections. And today we're closing out week 2 with something that I get asked about all of the time. Rashonda, everyone says I need to tell stories, but I don't want to overshare. I don't want to make it all about me. And honestly, storytelling feels cringy. Have you ever thought that? Have you ever said that? Just throw up the hands or give me a thumbs up or some hearts on the screen to let me know, yeah, Rashonda, I have said that either to you, to myself, or to a friend. And I hear you, because most storytelling advice for leaders is bad, capital B-A-D. People tell you to be vulnerable, to share your journey, and let people see the real you. And you're thinking, I'm a leader, I'm a CEO, I'm an executive. I'm not trying to trauma dump on LinkedIn. And you're right. There's a difference between strategic storytelling and oversharing. There's a difference between stories that build authority and stories that erode authority. Listen, folks, facts tell, but stories sell every single time. Put that in the comments. Facts tell, but stories sell every single time. And so this is a skill that we really have to master. So today I am teaching you how to use storytelling strategically, without the cringe, without oversharing, and without making it all about you. This is storytelling without the cringe, how to use story strategically. So let's dive in. So this is what I'm seeing on the socials, LinkedIn, Instagram. We have 3 people. You know, I love to give you 3 people, 3 scenarios, and I want you to identify where you are in these 3. Problem 1 is we have the people that overshare. Someone posts a 12-paragraph story about their divorce, their bankruptcy, their mental health crisis, their family drama. And you're reading it thinking, this is a lot. Why are they telling me this? And what's happening is they heard be vulnerable, and they interpret that as share everything. And as a result, you don't see them as more credible. You see them as less professional. Actually, you will actually feel uncomfortable. So that's oversharing. That's not strategic storytelling. Problem two is the humble brag. 10 years ago, I was broke and struggling. Today, I'm a multimillionaire with 3 houses, a yacht. Here's what I learned. And you're thinking, this isn't a story. This is you bragging disguised as inspiration. Anybody ever see that? What's happening is they're using their story as a vehicle to show off. And as a result, you don't feel inspired. You actually feel annoyed. So that's ego storytelling. That's not strategic. Problem three is the pointless story. Yesterday, I was in line at Starbucks and the barista smiled at me. It reminded me that small acts of kindness matter. They do matter. But you're thinking, okay, but what does that have to do with your expertise? And what's happening is they're telling stories with no strategic purpose. They're just stories. And you might relate to it, but you don't see them as an authority because they haven't learned how to link their authority to the story that they're telling. You see them as someone who posts nice thoughts. That's filler storytelling, but it is not strategic. So here's what I need you to understand. Story is one of the most powerful tools you have to build authority. Your story. It's woven in our DNA. Your chromosomes tell a story. Your DNA tells a story about your family history. We are wired for story. But storytelling in the business marketing context only works if you use it strategically. Strategic storytelling doesn't mean sharing everything about your personal life, making yourself the hero of every story, telling stories just because people love stories. No. Strategic storytelling means you use story to illustrate a point, making the lesson the hero, not you, and building authority, not just connection. So as always, today I want to give you the framework. Again, if you're just tuning in, I'm Rashonda Pratt, visibility and communication strategist, working with founders, leaders, and CEOs so they can be seen, heard, and paid because your visibility is power. We are doing 25 days of live video, 25 days of visibility, and today we're talking about storytelling without the cringe. So let me give you the strategic storytelling framework. It's 4 principles. Number 1, story is the vehicle, not the destination. Number 2, we're going to use a 3-part story structure. Number 4, we're going to make the lesson the hero, not you. And number 4, we're going to know when not to tell a story. So let's break each one of these down because they're so very important. Principle number 1, story is the vehicle, not the destination. Here's the mistake that most people make. They think storytelling is the strategy. It's not. Story is the vehicle. The strategy is the lesson. So think about it like this. You're trying to teach someone how to navigate a specific challenge in business. You could just state the lesson. Here's what you should do. But that's dry. That's forgettable. Or you could wrap the lesson in a story. Here's what happened when I faced this challenge, and here's what I learned. The story makes the lesson memorable. This is why we have TED Talks. But the story without the lesson, that's just entertainment. So strategic storytelling equals story plus lesson. Always ask yourself before you post a story, what's the lesson? I do this all the time. I've learned this in television news. Hands up, do it all the time. What is the point? Why am I posting? Why am I telling the story? What's the lesson? What's the takeaway? What do I want people to remember? If you can't answer that, don't tell the story. Principle 2, use the 3-part story structure. Every strategic story has 3 parts. And when I share this with you, you always probably start to remember. Let me know in the comments. You always probably start to remember when we're in middle school and we're learning about each story. It has a what? A beginning, middle, and end. Remember that? What we learned in school? Beginning, middle, and end. So what I want you to understand, Nathalie, who's watching this live, and everyone else, that this is going to be similar, but we're talking about strategy here. So every strategic story has three parts. Part one, the situation. This is context. So you're setting up the scenario. What happened? What was the challenge? You want to keep this short to 2 to 3 sentences max. So for example, 3 years ago, I was working with a CEO who was posting on LinkedIn 5 times per week, but getting 0 engagement. She was frustrated and ready to quit. See that? Keep it short and simple, but you're setting up what the problem is. Part 2 is the shift. This is where we get into action or insight. This is where you have to ask yourself this question. What changed? What did you do? What did you realize? This is where the story starts to take movement. So going back to our same story, I asked her, are you teaching or just sharing thoughts? She paused. I'm just sharing thoughts. That was the shift. So with this part 2 of your story, what changed? There has to be a movement happening here in the middle here. And then part 3, we get into the lesson, the application for the person who's reading or listening. What did you learn? What should they learn? And how can they apply this? This is the most important part. This is where authority is built. So here's the example. Here's what I told her. Thought leaders teach. If your content doesn't teach something specific, you're just adding noise. She shifted to teaching her frameworks within 60 days of her engagement. Within 60 days, her engagement tripled and she landed 2 new clients. See that? So 3 parts: situation, the shift, the lesson. Situation, what happened? Shift, what changed? Lesson, what you or they should learn. Keep each part short. This is about 6 to 8 sentences, not 12 paragraphs, because strategic storytelling is concise. I think I read something that said the attention span of a goldfish is 8 seconds. Right now for humans, it's 6. Basically, our attention span, I may be getting the numbers wrong, but I do remember our attention span is shorter than a goldfish. And a lot of that comes from social media, short form video. So going on and on and on about a story, unless you are performing that story, is going to cause people to be like, I'm checking out. I'm checking out. Principle 3, make the lesson the hero. Now, this is where there's a key difference here. Here's what most people get storytelling wrong. They make it about themselves. They make them the hero of the story. I did this. I overcame that. I'm so successful now. That's ego storytelling. Strategic storytelling makes the lesson the hero. The lesson is what they remember, not you. So let me show you the difference. Ego storytelling. You could start off like this, but it shouldn't last this way, okay? 10 years ago, I was broke. I worked 80-hour weeks. I sacrificed everything. Now I run a $10 million company. Never give up. What you remember is this person wants you to know that they're successful. Bravo. But again, how does that help me? It doesn't. What you don't remember is any actual lesson they can apply. So here's a reframe of that. Strategic storytelling. I worked with a founder who was burning out, 80-hour weeks, no systems, doing everything himself. I asked him, what would happen if you worked 40 hours instead of 80? He said, my business would collapse. We tested it. He cut his hours in half, built systems, delegated. Revenue went up 30%. The lesson: hustling harder isn't the strategy. Building systems is. You know what you remember? Building systems is greater than hustling harder. What you don't remember and don't care about, whether I'm the founder or the consultant, the lesson is the hero. See the difference? Ego storytelling is look at me. Strategic storytelling is here's a lesson that will help you. So here's a question we always have to ask. Always. I do this when I'm preparing keynotes. I do this when I'm coming to do live videos and even in podcasts, right? Always ask, is this story about me or is this story about the lesson I'm teaching? It could start off about you, but it better take them on a route to a lesson. If it's about you, rewrite it, re-record it. Principle number 4, know when not to tell a story. Now, if you have questions while I am live streaming here or even in the replay, please put your questions up because I would love an opportunity to answer them while we are here live. All right, principle number 4, know when not to tell a story. Here's the thing nobody tells you. You don't always need a story. Sometimes the most powerful content is just straight teaching, a framework, a breakdown, a principle. No story, just value. So when to use a story? When you're illustrating a complex concept, when you want to make a lesson memorable, when you're challenging a belief and you need an example. Those are great ways to know when to use a story. When not to use a story, when you're teaching a framework, just teach it. When you're giving tactical advice, just give it. When you can't identify a clear lesson, don't force it. Don't tell stories just because people love stories. Tell stories when the story serves the strategy. Otherwise, just teach. So let's do a quick recap. The strategic storytelling framework. Story is the vehicle, not the destination. Always know the lesson first. 2, use the 3-part structure: situation, shift, lesson, and keep it short. Make the lesson the hero, not you, not your success, the lesson that the people watching and listening will receive. 4, know when not to tell a story. Sometimes straight teaching is more powerful. Story without strategy is entertainment. Story with strategy, that is authority building. So your assignment is to use the 3-part structure: situation, shift, and lesson, and tell your story. Whether you do a live video today or post on social, or even practice telling it with a friend or client, right? You can post this in the comments. You can come back and do this, or you can post it in LinkedIn and tag me in it, right? If you post it, I'll give you feedback. If you post it on LinkedIn, I want to see it. Remember, make the lesson the hero, not you. So that wraps up week 2 of LiveMas, 25 days of visibility. Let's recap what we've learned this week. Day 8 was your soundbite strategy, how to be quotable, not just knowledgeable. And that comes with clarity, contrast, and conviction. Day 9, we talked about LinkedIn is your stage, the 5 elements of strategic LinkedIn presence: profile optimization, positioning, content, consistency, engagement. Day 10, we talked about beyond broadcasting, how to build real relationships in digital spaces, the daily 10 strategy, and the 3 types of connections all of us need. Day 11, we talked about curating your network, how to be selective with your connections. We talked about the 3 connection filters, and we answered Dorothy's question. In day 12, we're talking about storytelling without the cringe, how to use storytelling strategically. Story is the vehicle, lesson is the hero. So week 2 was all about how to show up strategically. What to say, where to say it, how to connect, who to connect with, and how to tell stories that build authority. Now, you have to go use the communication tools to go be the go-to authority. I am going to drop in the description a freebie that we have, which talks about the 7 stories that every leader should be telling. And one of them is your origin story and how to do it. So again, I'm going to drop that in the description of this video, and you can click on that and you can get that PDF download. Okay. This Sunday, we're doing something different. We're going to do like a live Q&A over the last 2 weeks. I'm going to answer your questions live. So we're going to integrate everything that we learned in week 2. So if you have questions between now and Sunday, please make sure to submit your questions by sending me a DM on LinkedIn. Make sure we're also connected on LinkedIn at Rashonda E. Pratt. Let's see. Okay. I think that's it. Week 2. We did it, Joe. Week 2 is complete. Now you know what to say, where to say it, how to connect, who to connect with, and how to tell stories. So go write your strategic story and make the lesson your hero. Remember, send me a DM on LinkedIn at Rashonda Pratt for any questions you've had over the course of the week. Let's celebrate. You have completed 2 weeks. 2 weeks down, 2 more to go. We did it. And I'm so excited about it. So thank you all so much for being a part of the broadcast. Listen, if this is helping you over these last couple of days, make sure to share it with another leader, another CEO, founder, so they can be a part of this conversation of boosting their visibility. All right, I'm Rashonda Pratt, visibility and communication strategist, empowering you to be seen, heard, and paid because your visibility is power. Thank you so much for being a part of day 12, 25 days of live visibility. Blessings.